From Capcom to Capcom. Henshin a go-go, guys and gals. How you doing? Kyle here, back to talk about another important fighting game related topic. When it comes to fighting game companies, Capcom we've known since, well, I guess since the 90s into the mid 2000s. I want to say Capcom was the king, so to speak, of, well, I want to say fighting games alone, but they also had a lot of other properties. We're talking about Onimusha, we're talking about Devil May Cry, we're talking about Street Fighter, we're talking about Marvel vs. Capcom, we're talking about freaking Beautiful Joe, we're talking about a lot of things. And Capcom was at the top, I guess, top of the heap when it comes to publishers, one of the big names. However, in the past few months, we've noticed that Capcom's been on the decline. With Street Fighter V not selling as good as it could have been, Street Fighter Cross Tekken. There are plenty of other poor examples of a game Capcom tripping over its feet. However, in these past few weeks, in this past month, even with all the chaos of everything going on from Bandai Namco and other game companies, Capcom seems to have turned its act around, and I appreciate the views, by the way, on my Cody reaction video, or the reaction to Street Fighter Arcade Edition. Thank you for that. But I wanted to do this in relation to that video because, along with Street Fighter V, Capcom seems to be stepping up its game. I wanted to kind of talk about that for a minute because I think they're in a place where they are better, much better than where they were, because it seems like they were very, very, very quickly declining and hopefully crashing and burning, and that's happened to Capcom before. However, though, they seem to be steadily picking up speed, not like extremely, but they're still relevant, so to speak. And with Dragon Ball Z Fighters coming out in January, even though that's going to be the biggest game of the year, fighting game or otherwise, I feel like Capcom still has its foot in the door. But I feel like there's some things that they could do, or if they haven't already planned it, or can do. And so these are kind of my personal opinions, and also things to talk about that they have already done. For instance, Street Fighter V, along with Team Battles, which today, as of the 20th, on December 20th, was announced, and I thought that was a cool feature. At first, I thought it was tag team feature for Street Fighter V, but it's just a team battle that you can set up as an exhibition or elimination match, which is a cool feature. I really like that. However, another interesting thing that they have is related to battle costumes, and hear me out on this. I know costumes with Street Fighter V, kind of a bad history. I remember God, we all remember how shitty the colors were, how to get those, man. That was awful. That was a freaking train wreck, if I've ever seen one. But I saw this, and I thought, well played, Capcom. Very well played for pulling at my heartstrings with Beautiful Joe Rashid. Captain Commando as well. That's also pretty dope. These battle costumes will be something that is on a monthly basis, and you have to complete a certain amount of tasks to do it. You only have a certain chance to get them, or a certain opportunity to get them, and then they're gone. That is one interesting thing that made me want to also do this video, because they haven't forgotten about their old properties. Things that we know that were great, things like Onimusha, things like Beautiful Joe, things like freaking, God, man, I can't remember what game Jin was in. I can't remember what game Captain Commando, regardless of that. They haven't forgotten about their past, and they know what they've done, so that gives me hope. So, here's a few things I feel like Capcom can do, if they haven't planned it already, that will help them become Capgod. So, first thing they can work on is in May, when they release the Anniversary Edition, they can work on giving Street Fighter Third Strike good netcode. Iron Galaxy netcode, as we all know, is well known for being very consistent, very good. Third Strike on the Xbox 360 and PS3, very good netcode. Also Killer Instinct, they both kind of run on the same thing. Skullgirls runs on that too, if I'm correct. And so, if that game is going to do successfully, I feel like it's going to need very solid netcode. And so, that's really the only thing related to that topic or that game that it needs to do successfully. So, I would assume that they have that already. So, hey, Capcom, keep that in mind, okay? Second thing, and this is in no particular order, by the way. We need, and this is kind of my personal ache, but I feel like a bunch of people could agree with me. Okami HD came out. Can we get a Beautiful Joe HD? Something. Throw me a bone, Capcom. I know Clover Studios doesn't exist anymore. Hell, I'd be happy with a God Hand HD, even though that game kind of deserves a remake. A Clover Collection, hell, man, that'd be fucking sick. All those Clover games, man, just, if they did Okami, and they got Beautiful Joe costumes for Rashid, they haven't forgotten about it. And by the way, I saw this article on Wikipedia. They gave me a bunch of hope. So, with this right here, that, even though that is not much, that keeps the dream alive. Just that little bit. In a 2017 interview, Dengeki PlayStation Kamea, I'll just say it like that, expressed interest in making a remake. That is good. Now, whether this game is greenlit or not, it just keeps a lot of faith in basically, Joe, we need you. A game like Beautiful Joe is one of a kind, honestly. The gameplay, the art style. Granted, it's linear, but it's a movie-style game. It's meant to look that way. I can honestly, when I was a kid, when I first ran into Beautiful Joe, that was an eye-opener for me. It made me appreciate games more. It made me appreciate Okami more, honestly, because I've never seen such an art style like that, and I love the movie building. Like, that shit got me. And so it became such a big part of my life, that game, that I really would just like to see another something related to Joe besides Wonderful 101. Third on my list is a Devil May Cry, 5 or DMC 5. Because I'm gonna assume that's what you're gonna call it. As we all know, maybe the majority, it's maybe a known thing that the property of Devil May Cry is still in the mix. It's been that way for a while, but we haven't necessarily seen any official trailers or anything revealing that Devil May Cry 5 exists, besides rumors. But it doesn't mean that this isn't a really well-known thing and won't appear. So what I am hoping is that Capcom can, at whether it's E3 or hell, it could be even if it's out of the blue, that would be good, but I would expect it to maybe be at E3, the next Devil May Cry game. And I feel like for a lot of people, that will set things up to turn Capcom into Capgod for them. So yeah, Devil May Cry 5, we need more proof of that. We need more reassurance of that game, even though we have a lot of confidence in it. Fourth, I think, honestly, at this point, if our overlord Mickey Mouse will allow it, is a Marvel vs. Capcom collection. By that I mean, so Street Fighter has its collection of all the games since the first one. The Marvel superhero games, I'm talking about Marvel superheroes, I'm talking Street Fighter versus X-Men, I'm talking about MVC 1, 2, all the Marvel superhero games and Marvel vs. Capcom games in one bundle. And before that was an issue, I think if I remember right, MVC 2 got taken down of the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live because of licensing issues. I believe that's the case. And now at this point, Disney buying Fox and everything, I have honestly no idea how those property or ownership of property work. But I don't see necessarily an issue for that to maybe be a thing. I think, just like I said, Disney would probably need to get their palms greased a little bit. Don't quote me on that. I don't know how it works, how it would work, but I feel like since times are maybe changing, it seems like more likely that would work out. And those games to me are just as important to the Street Fighter or excuse me, to the fighting game community as well. I mean, it's one of the titans. You got Street Fighter, you have Tekken, you got Marvel, you got freaking Guilty Gear. Just it is anime fighters. It kind of got people into anime fighters, a lot of them. So it's got a big place for a lot of people, Marvel vs. Capcom. So an HD collection or an anniversary collection, whatever they want to call it, would be perfect. It would work, or excuse me, they would work perfectly for Marvel and Capcom, honestly. So I don't necessarily see any reason why that wouldn't happen. Fifth one that I could think of that was good is a re-release of Street Fighter Cross Tekken in a PS4 and Xbox One version. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to boo me off stage with this, but hear me out, because this is one of the big hindrances, or one of the big flagship things that kind of sent Capcom into a freaking nosedive. Street Fighter Cross Tekken sold about 40% less than what it predicted. I think they predicted like 2 million copies, and it only sold like, I want to say 1.3, and they lost a lot of money, and also not even that. They grossed a lot of people out, and it kind of started, or excuse me, let me remember, it started the whole issue with DLC, and so people started to hate that shit, man. That started the whole commotion now that we have with Star Wars Battlefront, loot boxes, you name it, man. All that DLC shit, that was a big part of how it got started. And so, and even me, I was included in that. I was like, ew, wow, I have to pay how much money to get 12 characters? But my biggest regret, though, is that I didn't pick up the game when it came out, because I play the game now on Steam. I bought it maybe 4 or 5 months ago just to kind of, like, because I had to kind of itch to get more Tekken in me. And I remember, Street Fighter Cross Tekken. So I went back to take a look at it, and the mechanics of the game were so much fun. And I never realized that at the moment. I used to watch tournaments of it, but I never really appreciated it until I played it. That game is made so goddamn well. Ken and King, Ken and Cammy, those guys, my characters, man, lays in that game. Any character, doesn't matter. The gameplay is amazing. It's a lot of goddamn fun. The DLC was gross as fuck, though. That's what ruined it for a lot of people. It had a good netcode, though. The matches were good. I can barely find matches now, and I wish, like I said, I would have played it more when it came out. I gave it a chance. I might not have bought the DLC, but the game still would have been good. So, what would help Capcom is that a re-release of this game, it would, well, how do I put this? It would put the game in a new light. So, the game sold pretty bad when it first came out, pretty much like Street Fighter V did. So, a re-release with all the DLC, I guess even with Pac-Man and Cole, those guys were in that game too. A re-release, oh yeah, and Megaman 2, sure, weird-ass Megaman, fat guy Megaman. I think that would put that game in a whole new light and really rekindle that love for that game, because there was a good amount of fan base that liked that game, and there was also an equal amount that hated the fuck out of it. And so I feel like Street Fighter Cross Tekken just needs another chance in the limelight to shine before it gets hooked off stage, because I think that's what happened, and for good reason though. That DLC was kind of gross, I admit it, but it just needs another chance to maybe kind of put it needs a second chance. Everyone kind of needs a second chance sometimes. I think this is the one chance where it needs another one. And I think that's about it for me, guys. I haven't really thought of anything else, but those are my 5 big ones. Did I miss anything? Do you have any suggestions? Let me hear them in the comments. How Capcom can probably ascend to Capgodhood. Definitely not Crapcom anymore. With Monster Hunter on the horizon, Megaman 11 on the horizon. Jesus, Street Fighter Arcade Edition looking solid. I don't think it's gonna trump freaking Dragon Ball. I don't know but it'll float steady. It's like if Dragon Ball Z Fighters is the giant cruise ship, like battleship, just floating, cutting through the water. Street Fighter V is it's a good sized yacht, but instead of like the Castaway style raft, instead of getting blown out of the water and sinking, I think it's gonna hold steady, So let me know what you guys think. What would help Capcom the most, and just leave it down. Tell me if you like any of my ideas. Really, just leave anything you like. Appreciate your views, guys. It's really helpful, really encouraging. Gives me fun ideas for this. So for now, guys, Henshin a Go-Go, shine on. I'll see you next time. Take care.